Hello. That's books falling over on my desk because I just pulled out all of these guys from my stack of books that stand on my desk every day. And I wanted to very briefly go over what I use for notebooks and what I'm using for planners next year. So this is the stack. This is me holding the stack. Oh, this is me trying to pick up the stack. Ugh. It's a big stack. So I'm putting next year's planner off to the side. We'll do that at the end. This one contains my Mitsubishi Bank paper notebook and a Tomoe River notebook. And I use these for ink play. So they have swatching, currently inked, just playing with ink. So that's 2 books for playing with ink. Hi now. 2 more books for playing with ink, or 1 for playing with ink, 1 for formal. So here's the Cosmo Airlight I use for just playing with ink. Here's how my 30 Inks 30 Days is coming along for this month, for November. Here comes Nell. So that's another play with ink. So 3 books that are just playing with ink. This is my formal ink swatches book. It's also on Cosmo Airlight. You've seen this before if you've watched my older videos. It's my swatch book. That's my swatch cat. Let me just grab her and put her on her chair. She has an armchair next to the desk, so she's good. My swatch book. So this is where when I first get an ink, it gets entered by the type of ink color it is. So for example, Van Diemen's Black Tongue Spider Orchid went in my Dusty Pinks because it doesn't quite qualify as a purple. Yeah. So that's 2 Cosmo Airlight notebooks in that cover. This is a Rotterfaden, and it contains right now just 1 book. That's my currently inked records from January 1st of this year. Right now I have too many pens inked. I have 3 pens inked with Inkabara Coral because I'm doing an experiment with it. But the rest of these, I've written these first 2 dry, these top 2 dry. These 2 are almost dry. These 2 are close to dry. And so I inked some more. So currently inked. So far we've got a Swatch Records book, 3 playing with pens, and my currently inked, so that's 5 so far. This is my Ink Records book. I have an Inky Fingers notebook that I fill out whenever I ink a new pen, but the main thing I fill out whenever I ink a new pen are these 2 books, which are my Ink Records books and my Pen Records book. So I look up the pen, in this one I look up the ink. So for example, this is Inkabara Coral, page 161. Yes, that means I have more than 161 inks. I'd say doesn't everyone, but no. They do not. They definitely do not. And you can see I have 3 entries with this ink, all in November of 2022. So that's my experiment with the coral. Then we have the Pen Records book. So as well as the Ink Records book, I go into the pen, look up the pen, and crossed out pens are pens I've given away or were wrecked or something, sold. Yeah, look up the pen and put an entry with what ink it has in it. So for example, this Sailor Proger Slim Mini has had Robert Oster Australian Opal Mauve, Monteverde Moonstone, and Robert Oster Plum Nut in it. So, yeah. So each pen gets records of the ink that has been in it. And once I fill this page with inks, I can continue over here on the back side of this, so that at a glance, when I open a page, I can see I don't have to flip. To see, I'll use this side of the page. So that's my pen records book. Then we have my Some Lines a Day. So I've been doing this for 2 years now. You can see every month I use different, so here's the end of a month. So there's the 2 inks for the end of September and the 2 inks for the beginning of October. So the Some Lines a Day book has been working really well. The first year I failed to enter anything for the month of November. I just got burnt out on it. Having to write something every day just burned me out. So I took the month of November off. And so what I've decided to do to have fun with November now is November this year, I'm doing 30 inks, 30 days, and I'm writing every entry, 1 day's entry in a different ink. And I'm using up old inks that I haven't used in a long time. So it's an exploration of old inks that I bought because I loved them, but that I haven't used within the last 2 years. 2 years being the amount of time I've been keeping the currently inked records and my ink records book and my pen records book. So this is a journal. So this is the 9th book you're seeing. Just a journal. Some leaves in there from our trip to Victoria. Lots of stuff. It's very bright. This is where I use most of my pretty inks. And it says on the front, this is my 5th journal. I don't journal consistently. I have a journaling practice with a lot of grace in it, a lot of leeway. I will journal for 5 or 6 months, sometimes 2 or 3 months, whatever, and then I'll take time off. It cycles through with my weaving. I'm a weaver, and I tend to either be journaling and playing with pens or weaving, not both. So right now I'm not weaving, I'm journaling and playing with pens, but I'm starting to feel the itch to weave again. So probably by this time next month, I'll be weaving and not journaling. And last of all is my Hobonichi cousin for next year. I did not keep a journal for this year, just with COVID and everything. There was so little going on in my life. At the end of last year, I didn't feel a need to journal. I didn't journal in, I didn't keep a planner in 2020 or 2021, but I'm ready to keep a planner again. I want to keep track of a few things. So I've put it in this cover. This is a standard Hobonichi cover. It's kind of a seafoam greeny blue on the outside and this nice navy on the inside. And what I've done is I took a scarf that I wove, but I didn't like the drape. It wasn't drapey enough. I had it too many ends per inch. So the fabric was a little bit stiff. I didn't like that. So I cut the scarf up into little bits. And this is what I did with it. One of the things I did with it is I made it into my cover for my Hobonichi, so that I get reminded that I make terrible weaving mistakes that can still be pretty. Because this was not a comfortable scarf, but it sure looks good as a book cover. So that's my Hobonichi for 2023, and I've got little notes in there on what I'm going to be doing with each section. And menu planning, grocery lists, all sorts of stuff. And I've filled in, I've added, what are they called? Tabs. These are leatherette tabs that I got from Mochi Things. I'll include a link in the doobly-doo in the down below. You know what I mean. In the more. I've got a metal index tab for something I'll flip to regularly. I've got the 2 bookmarks for my monthly and for my daily. And sorry, not for my monthly. Yeah, for my monthly. So my weekly I'll have to get some sort of other system for. I'll probably keep something like this endless piece of endless regalia paper, note paper, in as a bookmark. So that is going to be for next year. That is the 10th book. And you will have guessed from going through these that I don't enter everything every day. Not every book gets used every day. So it'll be this and my, where are you? Some lines a day will be dailies. My journal will be overflow. So I'll be doing a day's worth of journaling in this guy in the daily section. And anything I want to discuss in more detail will go in here that I want to write about in more detail. So these will be basically my daily books. And then everything else has to do with when I play with pens, when I ink new pens, when I clean out pens. So if I'm going back to weaving, the other books will sit and won't get used very much because I will be down to 1 pen for my some lines a day and 1 pen for my Hobonichi cousin. So yeah, that's it. That's my system. There's a lot of books. They all sit on my desk nicely. I've kept things kind of brown, blue, and some red. I've got the one book that has some red and the one book that's kind of greenish, book cover that's kind of greenish, but it's mostly brown and blue. And I like that. This is very much up my color alley. It's the palette I like. So yeah, thanks for sticking with me and watching this weird little video. If you have a system of your own that entails having numerous notebooks on your desk and making you happy even though you don't write in them every day, please feel free to comment. It's nice to know I'm not the only loon out there with 10 books on my desk. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.